was diagnosed with diabetes, and it went from one day to another. I had to take insulin, and they were teaching me how to give myself.
That drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy have additional health benefits on top of their basic intentions.
Something changed in Hollywood around 2023. Faces that had been familiar for decades, faces you grew up watching on television, in movies, at awards shows, started looking different. Not just thinner, hollower, sharper in the cheekbones, older around the jaw, and one by one, the names behind those faces started confirming what everyone already suspected. Today we're going through 19 golden age stars suffering from Ozempic face, before and after. Number 19. Fat Joe. Fat Joe, born Joseph Cartagena, was one of the defining voices of 90s hip-hop. Terror Squad, The Bronx, collaborations with Remy Ma and Ashanti, decades of credibility in a genre that doesn't give it easily. He was also, for much of his career, a large man who made no apologies for it. His name was his name. The weight was part of the identity, part of how he moved through the world, and for a long time it wasn't something he seemed particularly interested in changing. Then came Ozempic, and a transformation that totaled 200 pounds of weight loss. He confirmed the drug's role in a US Weekly interview, describing how he and his family had changed their approach to food, cutting carbs, changing eating habits, using the medication as a tool within a broader lifestyle shift. "We just try to eat everything with the least carbs as possible," he told the outlet. He was not embarrassed about the drug's role in the process. He spoke about it the same way he spoke about everything, directly, without hedging. The before and after comparison is one of the most dramatic on this list. Photos from the early 2000s and photos from 2024 show two people who share a face, but almost nothing else physically. His cheekbones are now prominent in a way they never were. The fullness that characterized his face for 30 years of public life has largely gone. He's spoken about the transformation with pride and practicality, and without any apparent nostalgia for what he looked like before. What makes Fat Joe's case stand out in the GLP-1 conversation is the scale of the number. 200 pounds is not a number that appears often in these discussions. It puts his situation in a different category from someone who lost 30 or 40 pounds for aesthetic reasons. He has talked about the health motivations behind it, the physical limitations, the family history, the desire to be around longer. The drug was one part of a package of changes that included diet and the accountability of doing it alongside family members. The results, at least in photographs, speak for themselves. Number 18. Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley spent decades as one of the most recognizable faces in American sports media. 11 NBA seasons, the Dream Team, the Hall of Fame, and then 20-plus years as the funniest and most unfiltered analyst on television. His physical presence was always part of the package. Large, loud, and entirely comfortable with it. He was the kind of person who could say almost anything on camera and get away with it, partly because of talent and partly because audiences trusted that he meant exactly what he said. That same quality carried into how he handled the Ozempic conversation. He confirmed his Mounjaro use publicly, describing it as a genuine health decision after years of struggling with his weight. He said the medication had been amazing and reported losing over 60 pounds on it, describing the experience as great for his health and energy levels. The facial changes in Barkley's case are visible across comparison photos from his Inside the NBA appearances in 2021 versus 2024 and 2025. His face has narrowed significantly. The fullness that was characteristic of his on-camera presence for years has reduced, and his cheekbone structure is more defined than it has been since his playing days. The physical change has been commented on extensively by fans and fellow media personalities. His co-host Shaquille O'Neal roasted him about it on air, which was probably inevitable. What is interesting about Barkley's experience in this context is that he has spent over 2 decades as one of the most candid voices in sports media, someone who says what he thinks and rarely softens it for the room. His confirmation of Mounjaro use followed that same pattern. He didn't hedge, he didn't frame it as something he had done reluctantly or under medical pressure. He said it worked, he saw it working, and he was glad. The before and after photos visible on Inside the NBA broadcasts from different years are as reliable a visual record as any celebrity on this list. Weekly appearances for years, with the same camera angles and lighting. Number 17. Tori Spelling. Tori Spelling was Beverly Hills 90210, one of the defining television shows of the early 1990s, one of the most watched series of that decade, and a cultural touchstone for an entire generation. She played Donna Martin from 1990 to 2000. She has been in public life in various forms ever since. She confirmed her GLP-1 use in a 2024 episode of her Misspelling podcast. Her experience was a 2-drug story. She tried Ozempic first, found it didn't work for her, then switched to Mounjaro, which did. Once she reached her goal on Mounjaro, she had the discipline to stop. I did go off of it because I had hit my ideal weight and I felt like I didn't want to get any thinner, she said on the podcast. She also made clear she felt no shame about having used it. I did Mounjaro and everyone admits it now. It's a different time, so I don't feel shamed saying that. The change in her face between photos from the mid-2000s and 2024 is consistent with the GLP-1 pattern. More defined bone structure, less fullness in the mid-face, a sharper jawline. Spelling's journey through these years was also marked by significant personal financial stress. Her family's well-documented financial difficulties, multiple house moves, and the general grinding pressure of keeping a public life together while dealing with private instability. She has addressed all of it with a kind of exhausted openness that is either brave or compelled, depending on how you look at it. The GLP-1 chapter was one more thing she chose to be honest about in a period when being honest had become her default mode. Number 16, Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell was one of the biggest names in American entertainment in the 1990s, A League of Their Own in 1992, The Flintstones in 1994, The Rosie O'Donnell Show, which launched in 1996 and ran for 6 seasons, making her one of the most watched daytime hosts of that decade. She was nominated for 15 Daytime Emmy Awards and won 4 of them. She confirmed her Mounjaro use in January 2023 in a TikTok post, explaining her doctor had recommended it for her diabetes. She called it a lifesaver and documented her progress openly on social media over the following 2 years. By February 2024, she posted a side-by-side comparison on Instagram, specifically highlighting the facial volume loss she had noticed, the hollowing in the cheeks, the change in the jaw. She was not hiding it. She was pointing at it directly. In March 2025, she posted a TikTok from Ireland, where she had relocated, noting that her appetite had decreased significantly, that she had dramatically reduced her sugar intake, and that cooking her own meals for the first time in years had contributed to her transformation in ways she hadn't anticipated. Comparing photos from 2019 to 2025, the change is substantial. Narrower face, sharper cheekbones, less fullness below the eyes, and looser skin around the neck that is a textbook marker of rapid GLP-1 related weight loss in someone in their early 60s. Number 15, Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 1991 for Ghost. She has been a co-host of The View since 2007. She is one of the rare performers to have won an Oscar, an Emmy, a Grammy, and a Tony, making her an EGOT. She is, in other words, someone who has spent 40 years being impossible to ignore. She confirmed her Mounjaro use in March 2024 on The View, saying she had been close to 300 pounds and had decided to do something about it. In May 2024, she appeared on The Kelly Clarkson Show and said she had lost the equivalent of almost 2 people. Various sources put the total loss at over 60 pounds. Her attitude throughout the public conversation has been consistent with her attitude about most things. Direct, unbothered, and slightly impatient with anyone who wanted to make it complicated. My weight has come and gone, and up and down, but it's never been an issue for me because I don't listen to what other people say about me, she said on The View. The physical change in her face between 2021 and 2025 photos is visible and real. Sharper features, less fullness in the cheeks, a noticeably different neck area. None of that appeared to concern her particularly. Number 14, Sunny Hostin. Sunny Hostin has been a co-host of The View since 2016, and before that was a federal prosecutor and legal analyst. She was a recognizable presence on television throughout the 2000s and 2010s. She's also someone who was very candid in 2024 about why she started using a GLP-1. She confirmed her Mounjaro use on The View in March 2024, describing how she had gained 40 pounds during the COVID-19 pandemic and had been horrified about returning to television. She tried Ozempic first but experienced significant constipation and found it wasn't effective for her. She switched to Mounjaro, which worked. Her cholesterol, which had climbed to 200, dropped to 140 on the medication. The before and after comparison in her case is clearly visible in episodes of The View from 2020 compared to 2024 and 2025, a narrower face, more defined defined cheekbones, and a structural change in the jawline that is consistent with the GLP-1 facial pattern in a woman in her mid-50s. She has been outspoken about believing the medication should be affordable and accessible to everyone, not just people who can afford a private physician's prescription. Number 13. Raven-Symoné. Raven-Symoné was a child star on The Cosby Show starting in 1989, became a household name with her own Disney Channel series, That's So Raven, in the early 2000s, and has remained in the public conversation through her time on The View and various entertainment projects. She has spoken openly about her weight for most of her adult life. She confirmed to E! News that she tried Ozempic first and found it didn't work for her, then moved to Mounjaro, which did. She was characteristically direct about the ethical dimension. "I think it's very important we understand certain medications are made for certain people," she said, "and to not take that away, just for glamazon purposes." Her weight loss has been visible in public appearances from 2022 onward, and the corresponding facial changes, a more prominent chin and cheekbones compared to photos from several years earlier, less fullness in the mid-face, match the standard GLP-1 pattern. Number 12. Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates has been one of the most respected actresses in American film and television for over 30 years. Misery in 1990, for which she won the Academy Award for Best Actress. Fried Green Tomatoes in 1991, Titanic in 1997, more recently, multiple seasons of American Horror Story, and the lead role in the Matlock reboot that premiered in 2024. Her Ozempic story is one of the more nuanced ones on this list. When she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in 2017, she lost 80 pounds over 7 years through lifestyle changes alone, changing what she ate, why she ate, and when, while walking regularly at home. Then, about a year before her October 2024 People interview, she started Ozempic specifically for her diabetes. That final drug-assisted stretch accounted for the last 20 pounds, bringing the total to 100. She was direct about the credit distribution when people got it wrong. People say, "Well, it was the Ozempic," she told Variety. It was the Ozempic. It took me years to do this. The facial changes between photos from 2015 and 2025 are real and pronounced. More visible cheekbones, reduced mid-face fullness, a changed jawline. She said the physical transformation changed what she was capable of doing on set, and it's part of why she took on the Matlock reboot. She could stand and move all day in a way she hadn't been able to for years. Number 11. Billie Jean King. Billie Jean King is one of the most significant figures in American sports history. 20 Wimbledon titles, the Battle of the Sexes match against Bobby Riggs in 1973, watched by approximately 90 million people worldwide. A lifetime of advocacy for gender equity in sports. She turned 80 in 2023. She confirmed her Ozempic use during a 2024 appearance on the Wiser Than Me podcast hosted by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She was specific about her reasoning. She wanted the drug not primarily for weight loss, but because she had heard reports that some users experienced a reduction in the mental noise around food, the constant internal argument about eating. "If it does quiet the voices, if that's a part of it, now I'm interested," she said. She was also clear she didn't want rapid results. "I think it looks horrible. I would like to lose it slowly." Before and after photos from her public appearances between 2020 and 2025 show the gradual changes that a slower, more moderate GLP-1 approach produces. Subtle facial thinning, slightly more defined bone structure, and changes around the neck area. The transformation is less dramatic than others on this list, which is entirely consistent with her stated intention. King's framing of the medication was notable for what it didn't include: vanity, red carpets, or before and after photos. She talked about it the way she talks about most things, as a practical health decision made with clear-eyed reasoning. At 80, she said she was also sleeping better and feeling less preoccupied with food in ways that had freed up mental energy she hadn't realized she was spending. For a woman who has spent 60 years being one of the most purposeful people in American public life, redirecting that mental energy was perhaps the most meaningful part of the whole experience. Number 10. Serena Williams. Serena Williams dominated women's tennis from the late 1990s through the early 2020s. 23 Grand Slam singles titles, 4 Olympic gold medals, and a legacy that reshaped the sport permanently. She retired from professional tennis in September 2022. In 2025, she confirmed to Today that she had been using a GLP-1 medication after struggling to reach her post-retirement weight goals. She used Zepbound, the brand name for tirzepatide when prescribed for weight management, the same compound as Mounjaro but marketed differently. She lost over 31 pounds while continuing to exercise vigorously and was clear that the medication was an enhancement to an already disciplined routine, not a replacement for it. "It helped me enhance everything I was already doing, eating healthy and working out," she told the outlet. She also pushed back on the idea that GLP-1 use is a shortcut. People who say you don't need medication if you work hard enough in the gym are, in her word, misinformed. The change in her face between photos from 2022 and 2025 follows the documented GLP-1 pattern. Reduced fullness in the cheeks, more defined bone structure, a different quality to the skin around the jaw. Number 9. Vanessa Williams. Vanessa Williams has been a public figure since 1983, when she became the first African-American woman to be crowned Miss America, a title that came with controversy and resignation, and a career that ultimately outran both. She became a successful recording artist in the late 1980s, had major hits through the 1990s, and built a substantial acting career alongside her music, including Ugly Betty from 2006 to 2010. She confirmed she had been taking Mounjaro in a 2024 interview with Hello magazine, describing it as a game changer for navigating menopausal weight gain. "When I turned 60, I was like, I want to be here for a long time and I want to look my best," she said. She had maintained the same workout routine and eating habits she'd had for years, but found they were no longer producing results. The medication changed that. She also combined it with hormone replacement therapy and NAD+ injections, and her summary of the whole experience was direct. "Science is amazing." Her facial transformation between photos from 2018 and 2025 shows the hollowing under the cheekbones and reduced mid-face fullness that dermatologists identify as characteristic of GLP-1 use in women over 50. Williams has remained engaged with the conversation without making it the center of her public identity. She's discussed it in the context of menopause, aging, and the particular frustration of doing everything right and watching it stop working. That is a story many women in their 60s recognize immediately, and her willingness to name what she used and what it did has given others a specific and honest reference point. Number 8. Jim Gaffigan. Jim Gaffigan built his career through the 1990s and 2000s as one of the most reliably funny stand-up comedians in America. The Hot Pockets bit, the pale suburban dad persona, the self-deprecating food humor that was central to his entire brand. His relationship with food was literally part of his act for decades. He confirmed his Mounjaro use in interviews with Today and People in 2024, with his characteristic lack of self-importance. "I have gotten skinny, and it's none of my own willpower. It's a shot in the stomach. That works wonders. I don't know why people are afraid to admit it. It seems strange." He lost approximately 50 pounds on the medication and described his new life on it as something he was grateful for. "It's such a better life," he said. The irony of a comedian whose entire food-obsessed persona was built on being the guy who ate too much is not lost on anyone, including him. He has addressed it directly in interviews. The comedy he built around food noise and appetite was, apparently, an accurate description of a genuine internal experience that Mounjaro largely quieted. Before and after photos from his Netflix specials show a face that has changed substantially, sharper features, less fullness through the cheeks and chin. Number 7. Amy Schumer. Amy Schumer emerged as one of the most prominent comedians of the 2000s. Her Inside Amy Schumer sketch show ran from 2013 to 2016. Her film Trainwreck was a major hit in 2015, and she has remained a consistent presence in American comedy and media since. Her willingness to discuss her body publicly and without apparent embarrassment has been a consistent feature of her public persona. Her GLP-1 story has multiple chapters. She took Ozempic around 2022, but the nausea was severe and constant. "I looked great and I couldn't lift my head off the pillow. So what's the point?" she said on The Howard Stern Show in January 2025. She stopped. She couldn't be present for her son while taking it, and that was the end of that. In 2025, she confirmed she uses Mounjaro. Her reasoning was about managing pain and improving quality of life, not aesthetics. "I did it to survive," she said. She also called out the culture of denial surrounding GLP-1 use among Hollywood figures in a 2023 appearance on Watch What Happens Live. The pattern of people losing dramatic amounts of weight while attributing it to drinking more water and eating clean. The physical changes visible in her before and after photos reflect the two different GLP-1 phases of her journey. The first rapid and then reversed, the second more gradual, and the additional context of Cushing's syndrome treatment, which produced its own visible facial changes in between. Number 6. Andy Cohen. Andy Cohen has been the executive producer and host of the Watch What Happens Live late-night talk show since 2009, and the executive producer of the Real Housewives franchise since its inception. He has been, in other words, one of the people most responsible for broadcasting the Ozempic conversation among celebrities while also being a participant in it. He confirmed in 2025 that he had microdosed a GLP-1 drug over one summer, losing 25 pounds. He was specific about the approach, microdosing rather than the full weekly therapeutic dose, and described it as something that really helped him with cravings. His summer regimen also included weightlifting, no snacking, and reduced drinking. His visible transformation from earlier WWHL episodes to 2024 and 2025 tapings shows the classic GLP-1 facial pattern: a narrower face, more prominent cheekbones, and less fullness in the jaw area. The host, who spent years asking celebrities point blank about Ozempic use, eventually answered the question about himself. Number 5. Tracy Morgan. Tracy Morgan was a cast member on Saturday Night Live from 1996 to 2003 and became a cultural institution through his role as Tracy Jordan on 30 Rock, which ran from 2006 to 2013. He is also someone who went through one of the most harrowing public recoveries in entertainment history: the June 2014 car accident on the New Jersey Turnpike that killed his close friend James McNair, left Morgan in a medically induced coma, and required years of rehabilitation for a traumatic brain injury. He confirmed his Ozempic use on Today with Hoda and Jenna in August 2023, framing it with characteristic directness. "No, that's Ozempic. That's how this weight got lost." He described taking the injection every Thursday and said it cut his appetite in half. "I went and got a prescription and I got Ozempic, and I ain't letting it go." In March 2024, he appeared on The Tonight Show and joked he had learned to out-eat Ozempic and gained 40 pounds back, then clarified to E! News it was a joke. Side-by-side photos from before and during his Ozempic use show a narrower face, more prominent cheekbones, and less fullness below the eyes. Number 4. Kelly Clarkson. Kelly Clarkson won the first season of American Idol in September 2002. The finale drew over 22 million viewers and has had a sustained and genuine career as a recording artist ever since. She is also the host of The Kelly Clarkson Show, which launched in 2019 and has been renewed through multiple seasons. She has, in other words, spent over 2 decades being one of the most visible people on American television. She confirmed in 2024 that she had been taking a prescription weight loss medication after her blood work flagged concerns her doctor wanted to address. She declined to name the specific drug, but confirmed it was a GLP-1. She was clear the medication was one part of a broader health approach that included diet and exercise. The change in her appearance between 2022 and 2025 was widely discussed. A noticeably narrower face, reduced cheek fullness, a sharper jawline. She has hosted multiple episodes of her show specifically about the GLP-1 conversation, bringing in doctors and patients to discuss the science, the access issues, and the cultural debate around these drugs. Having a personal stake in the topic gave those segments a texture that straight health coverage typically lacks. Number 3. Kyle Richards. Kyle Richards has been a cast member of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills since the show's premiere in 2010. She was also a child actress in the 1970s and 1980s. She appeared in Halloween in 1978 and Little House on the Prairie. She has been continuously visible for almost 50 years. Her weight loss became a major storyline on RHOBH starting in 2022 and 2023, and the public conversation around what caused it was prolonged and contested. tested. She initially maintained her transformation was the result of quitting alcohol and working out. Over time, she acknowledged she had used semaglutide, the active ingredient in Ozempic and Wegovy, as part of her journey, while maintaining the lifestyle changes were genuine. The facial changes in her case are among the most dramatic on this list. Photos from 2021 and 2025 show a face that has been substantially reshaped, the fullness characteristic of her earlier years replaced by sharp angles and defined cheekbones. Because RHOBH documents her life in real time across multiple seasons, the transformation unfolded on camera in a way that gave viewers an unusually detailed visual archive. The change was fast enough and patterned correctly enough to fit the GLP-1 profile, regardless of how it was described in interviews. Her situation was also set against a very public personal upheaval. Her marriage to Mauricio Umansky became a major storyline in 2023 and 2024, and she lost a significant amount of weight during a period of documented personal stress. The Housewives format made it impossible for any single explanation to go unquestioned. Viewers who had been watching her since 2010 had 15 seasons of comparison footage and a collective memory of exactly what she looked like at every major moment in those years. The before and after conversation around Kyle Richards was, in that sense, the most extensively documented of anyone on this list, conducted in real time, in public, across multiple seasons of television. Number 2. Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey has been one of the most recognized people in the world since the mid-1980s. The Oprah Winfrey Show ran from 1986 to 2011, 25 seasons, the highest-rated daytime talk show in American television history. Her weight has been a public conversation for most of those decades, one she has participated in openly and one that has sometimes been used against her. She confirmed in December 2023, weeks before her 70th birthday, that she had been using a GLP-1 medication. She didn't name the brand but confirmed the drug class. She told People magazine that using a medically approved prescription for weight management felt like relief, like redemption, like a gift. She was done being shamed for it, by others or by herself. Her regimen incorporated the medication within a structured daily approach, hiking 3 to 5 miles, ending eating by 4 in the afternoon, a gallon of water daily. She attempted to stop the medication about 6 months in, regained roughly 20 pounds, and resumed. She produced a full television special on ABC in March 2024, an Oprah special, Shame, Blame, and the Weight Loss Revolution, and has become one of the most prominent public voices arguing that obesity is a disease requiring medical treatment, not a character failing requiring willpower. On a 2025 podcast, she also noted an unexpected effect. Her desire to drink alcohol had essentially disappeared since starting the GLP-1. Research has since supported the idea that these medications may reduce addictive cravings more broadly, not just for food. The gradual change in her face across photos from 2021 to 2025 shows reduced fullness in the cheeks and a change in the neck area that is consistent with the GLP-1 facial pattern in a woman in her late 60s. Number 1. Sharon Osbourne. We start the list and end it with Sharon Osbourne because her story has a second chapter that no one else on this list has had yet. She managed Ozzy Osbourne's career from the early 1980s through decades of Black Sabbath, solo albums, and The Osbournes, the MTV reality show that premiered in 2002 and averaged 7 million viewers per episode. She was a co-host of The Talk from 2010 to 2022. She has been a public figure for over 40 years. She started Ozempic in December 2022. She weighed 142 pounds. Within months, she was under 100, a loss of 42 pounds that happened faster than she intended. "I lost 3 stone in 4 months, she told the Daily Mail. Too much. The nausea in the early weeks was severe and constant. The first few weeks were terrible because you just throw up all the time and feel so nauseous," she said on Bill Maher's podcast. After it passed, what remained was a simple absence of hunger, and for someone who had struggled with her weight for decades and had gastric band surgery in 1999, the silence of that appetite was, as she described it, very easy to keep chasing longer than she should have. By 2024, she had stopped, but she couldn't regain the weight. Her metabolism had shifted in ways she couldn't reverse by eating more. anymore. I can't put anything on, she said on Loose Women in early 2024. She began warning people, specifically younger people, to be careful. You can lose so much weight and it's easy to become addicted to that, which is very dangerous, she told the Daily Mail. Ozzy Osbourne reportedly told her she looked like Nancy Reagan. She quoted him saying it herself. The before and after photos of Sharon Osbourne are some of the most striking in the entire GLP-1 celebrity conversation. Not because the change is the most extreme, but because of everything she said alongside it. She saw it coming, kept going, went too far, and then told all of it plainly to anyone who would listen. The gaunt face in the 2024 photographs is hers. It wasn't entirely what she intended. She's made peace with it. That is, in one person, the full Ozempic face story. The before and after photographs are real, and the pattern across all 19 of these people is consistent enough that dermatologists have given it a name and written papers about it. GLP-1 medications do something very specific to the face, particularly in people over 40, and it doesn't always match what anyone expected when they first picked up the prescription. Some of the people on this list have zero regrets. Some are still figuring out how they feel about it, and a couple would do it differently if they could go back. What they all share is that they were big enough and public enough that their transformation happened in front of an audience, and that audience had the photographs to compare, the comment sections to fill, and the long memories that come from watching someone on a screen for 20 or 30 years. That's a specific kind of accountability that most people navigating a health decision never have to deal with. Whether it made the experience harder or easier probably depended on the day. What it definitely made, it was visible. More visible than any of them could fully control, which, for people who had spent their careers managing exactly that, was its own kind of strange. If you found this one worth your time, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel. And subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next.